The Jester has just been re-released as a limited time game pass, costing 799 Robux, and is going to be gone once the Halloween event ends. The Jester used to be the best tower in the game, but it has received some pretty big nerfs. It's also a very complicated tower, so in this video, I'll be taking a look at its stats, values, and uses, then give my personal ranking and see if it's worth buying. So, hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get started. It costs 500 cash to place, meaning you can get it on the first wave. It attacks by throwing bombs, unlocking different types as you level it up. When clicking on the tower, you can select which bomb you want to use, and each bomb applies a different effect. At level 0, it has a fire rate of 1.508, a range of 10, an explosion size of 3, and can hit up to 5 enemies. The only bomb it has unlocked at this level is the fire bomb, which deals 2 damage and applies a burn effect, which deals 1 DPS for a duration of 3 seconds, which is a total of 3 burn damage. That's a combined DPS of 2.33. At level 1, for a total of 600 cash, its fire rate is now 1.008, and its range is increased to 12. That improves its fire bomb DPS to 2.98. At level 2, for a total of 1,150 cash, nothing changes regarding its regular stats, but the fire bomb is buffed and it unlocks the ice bomb. The fire bomb now deals 4 damage, and the fire effect deals 2 DPS for 4 seconds, which is a total of 8 burn damage. That's a combined DPS of 5.97. The ice bomb focuses on slowing down enemies rather than dealing damage. It deals 2 damage, slows enemies by 30% each hit, has a max slowdown of 60%, and the effect lasts 2 seconds. It has a DPS of 1.99. At level 3, for a total of 3,400 cash, nothing changes regarding its regular stats, except for now being able to hit hidden enemies, but the fire bomb and ice bomb are both buffed, and it unlocks the poison bomb. The fire bomb now deals 12 damage, and the burn effect deals 6 DPS for 6 seconds, which is a total of 36 burn damage. That's a combined DPS of 17.9. The ice bomb now deals 6 damage, which is a DPS of 5.95. The poison bomb leaves a toxic puddle on the ground, dealing damage to any enemies that walk over it. It can hit an unlimited number of enemies, making it very good against crowds. It deals 8 DPS and lasts for 10 seconds. It also melts 1% defense every 0.5 seconds, maxing out at negative 50 defense. Finally, at level 4, for a total of 11,900 cash, it now holds a bomb in each hand, allowing you to select 2 different types of bombs. Its fire rate is reduced to 0.758, and its range increased to 14. The fire bomb, ice bomb, and poison bomb are all buffed, and it unlocks the confusion bomb. The fire bomb now deals 22 damage, and the burn effect deals 22 DPS for 6 seconds, which is a total of 132 burn damage. That's a combined DPS of 51.02. The freeze bomb now deals 11 damage, but slows enemies the same amount for the same duration. It deals 14.51 DPS. The poison bomb now deals 14 DPS, but its duration and defense melting stayed the same. The confusion bomb causes enemies to temporarily walk backwards, making it very effective at stalling enemies. It deals 11 damage and confuses enemies for 2 seconds. After that, an enemy cannot be confused for another 8 seconds. Now, let's take a look at the values and uses of this tower. You can get a level 1 Jester on the first wave, and at this level, it has a value of 4.97 DPS per 1k spent. However, you can usually expect to hit at least 2 to 3 enemies. If it's hitting 3 enemies per bomb, that's a value of 14.9 DPS per 1k spent, which is really good. With a bit of switching back and forth between strongest and first targeting, it can defend until wave 3, but it still does some pretty decent crowd control against the upcoming waves, so it can work well with other towers if you're playing with multiple people. In general, the fire bomb is usually considered the worst bomb, as the poison bomb outclasses it, but it's still worth to have at least 1 bomb on 1 Jester set to fire, as the total damage from the burn is 132. That's pretty nice, and if you have the fire bomb set to strongest or random targeting, it can inflict this burn on almost every enemy in the crowd. However, there's no point in using more than 1 fire bomb, as you can only apply the burn once. For the poison bomb, make sure you have it on first targeting, so it places the poison puddles in front of all the enemies. This, combined with the stalling bombs that we'll talk about later, makes a Jester a menace against crowds. The unlimited pierce from the poison lets it deal a ton of DPS. Still, while the Jester is good against crowds, I say strongest trait is by far its stalling. First off, the ice bomb being able to slow enemies up to 60% is extremely good. That'll make it much easier for your other towers to defend. And the confusion effect is extremely good, not just slowing them down, but actually sending the enemies back. And unlike the ice bomb, no other tower can apply the confusion effect. So this works very well with other stalling towers. It'll pretty much always be a helpful addition. Now, unfortunately, the confusion effect does not affect final bosses. However, the chill effect from the ice bombs actually do. While the exact percentage of slowdown against bosses is unknown, the owner, Below Natural, thinks there's roughly a maximum of 20%. That may not sound like a lot, but that's actually pretty substantial. That gives your towers 20% more time to attack the boss, which is basically a 20% damage buff. And since the ice bomb doesn't get better as you upgrade the Jester, all you need is 2 level 2 Jesters to achieve the maximum slowdown for a cheap total of 2,300 cash. However, I still recommend having at least 1 max level Jester, since the confusion effect is still going to be very useful against any enemies that the boss summons. You may be wondering what combination of bombs are the best for max level. Well, you're going to want a couple of Jesters set to confusion and ice bombs, 1 Jester with 1 bomb set to fire, and the rest set to poison bombs. This will make sure you get the maximum amount of confusion, slowness from the ice bomb, 1 person spreading fire to all the enemies, and a ton of crowd control from the poison bombs. You can get a total of 8 Jesters, and it's really up to you how much you want to focus on stalling and how much you want to focus on crowd control. This tower is a bit of a jack of all trades. It can do okay in the early game, give some pretty solid crowd control, control, and supplies amazing stalling. Because of that, I'm gonna rank it as a solid A tier. It used to be an easy S tier back when it affected bosses with the confusion effect, however since that's been removed, it's not really as good. Also, if you want it for crowd control, you might as well use something like the Golden Pyro or Mortar, which deal way more damage to crowds. However, in terms of stalling, this tower is actually really good, so if you want the tower for that purpose, I'd recommend buying it. However, it is pretty expensive, so at the end of the day, it is your choice. With that said, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments down below if you're gonna buy this tower and whether or not you agree with my ranking. And if you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to join the Blue Head Mafia. Also, if you want to talk to me, consider checking out my Discord. We got some pretty cool features, like a custom party finder bot that will automatically pair you up with other people who are trying to do the same strategy. There's a link to the server pinned in the comments. And finally, I want to give a huge shout out to these channel members for supporting my content. If you want to add me as a friend on Roblox or get early access to some of my videos, consider becoming a channel member. It helps me out a lot and I really appreciate it. Anyways, that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.